as you can see, we've got a new project, right? This is going to be part 2 of the desk build. Do you remember when I was driving? If you haven't watched that video, go watch the video because it's relevant, right, to this one here. I say that to say that we are upgrading the desk. We bought that desk for $25. It was like 24 and some change, right? So we're rounding up to 25. My budget was $50. So I used the remaining $25 to buy some wood. And each one, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 pieces of wood, and each one was $5 and maybe some change. So we're just like right at that $25, $26 budget. And the fact that we're able to do exactly what I'm about to do with it for $50 is insane, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm taking this wood. I just bought some 2x6s and a 2x8. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to whip it all together, zip it, and make a new top. A better top for this desk that I'm making. And if you remember, it was just particle board. It was kind of, it's the material that I don't care for at all. And I just don't care for it at all. So I like the hardwood, and so the way we're keeping this under budget, under the $50, or right there at the $50 mark, is we're using stuff. Number one, we're borrowing things. See, we have all of this equipment here, all the saw, and just everything that we're using is pretty much borrowed, like the drills and stuff that I'm going to use. All of it, none of it's mine. Second off, we're using stuff that we already have in the arsenal. So I already have some stain, I already have some epoxy, what's it called? Polyurethane, and I already have that from a previous project, and you know, that project was like, the budget was like $100, and so I'm just using what was left over to create something else, you know? Don't move on to the next thing and kind of extend what I've used. Instead of buying more, just use what we already have. I just threw my pen. So we're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna use this Pilot G2, take all the measurements, jump right in, let's go. Let's talk about what we have here. First off, this is me from the future, the Hunt Studio. This is me, Hunter, talking to you after I've been on the desk. I've felt the desk. I've been using the desk for a couple of weeks now, and just been getting like some good use out of it, right? So I built this desk was bought with the intention of making art, right? So making art. Making to my YouTube channel, or my YouTube videos, and also a little editing studio system all in one, right? So it's got my computer on the bottom, it's got a desktop, the little 2-tiered computer deal, and then also the cutting mat is where I have, you know, I sit there and do my top-down drawings and all, and I just have fun with it, right? And so what we gonna do is we're gonna sit here and talk about what we did. So first off, in the build, right? The wood top, right? That's what I wanted. I wanted the metal legs and then the wooden top. And so first off with that, I obviously had to take in consideration the space that I had. I had a space that was like allowed a 50-inch long desk or so. And so I measured accordingly. You know, this desk is custom fit specifically to this space. And it's not too far off from like a standard desk size. So it's good. Right? So it's fine. So whenever, in the event that we move, inevitably, I'll be able to pick this up, take it with me, and just kind of carry on. Or I'll just give this one away, as I love doing. I just like to give my desks away. This is my 3rd desk I've made, and I just keep giving them away. But anyway, so with this one, obviously you got to take your measurements, right? You got to take the measurements, and you got to cut it down to size, right? You cut all the pieces down to size, you take your measurements, use your speed square, and then you take your size, whatever, you put it all together, right? So you rip it all down to size, and then that's getting the length, and then the using a, what kind of saw is this? I don't have a clue. A miter saw? I think so, yeah. A saw. It's a saw. That's what I know. And then you get your table saw, and then you got to rip the boards down lengthwise, right? So you got, length, and then widthwise, you have to rip it down widthwise as well to get all, you know, to get that custom size that you want, you know. And I did end up making a couple of mistakes. I ripped it a little bit too short, but we ended up fixing it. I just compensated, whatever, figured it out, and got it to work. So, next thing is the fun part.
once I got all the wood like pieced together, I started just smashing it, right? I just started like, I took a hammer to it. I took, well, what all did I take to it? I know I took a screwdriver to it, a brick, you know, like a, what else did I take? You know, just a bunch of stuff, just stuff, whatever was lying around. I took it and just smashed into the wood, right? And so obviously after that, just kind of weather it, whatever. And then after that, you take it, get your Craig jig, your little pocket hole screws. I got this thing for like 20 bucks, right? This little kit. And then the screws were like 5 or 10, whatever. The clamp was 20, whatever. So technically, if you want to get super technical with the pricing, I went over budget with the supplies and whatnot. But here we're just gonna say that it, you know, with the materials, we spent 50 bucks, right, on the materials and the desk itself. Again, I borrowed things, whatever. It ended up being more like $75 to $80. But here's the cool thing about it. That Craig jig, the little pocket hole screw dealio, the clamp, the screws, I get to take that home with me and use it on future projects. And if that's something of value to you, you know, take away from that as it's an investment, you know what I mean? And so you invest in yourself and you do what you love, and that's what it is. Moving on, zip, zip, zip. Gotta zip it up, right? Gotta zip the thing together. And then once it's zipped together, now that it's together, you start sanding it. Get a good sand, get it good and sanded down from, I started with a 80 grit, and then I went to 120, and then down to 220, right? But once it's sanded down, and then your wife approves of the feel, buttery, smooth feel. Get all the dust off. Take it, wet a rag. I took some canned air, some compressed air, and also sprayed all the little dust particles out. And then I took my polyurethane, and I'm sorry, not polyurethane. I took my wood finish, my stain, and actually these are two, like I said earlier, the stain is two different types of stain, the dark walnut and the ebony, and I actually had a little bit of both, and so I mixed the two together. I just mixed them together, and then, you know, I had a lot of one color. You know, it's a custom color. So it's a custom desk, custom color, a stain. It's cool. It's awesome. It's great. So I just started slapping a coat of stain on each one, like the one tier, the top, and then the bottom, the whole situation, you know, just slap it all along. And then you wait 4 hours between each coat, and I put a total of 2 coats of stain on there, and then using some polyurethane, I used polyurethane and put 3 coats of polyurethane on my table. And what I did with each coat, again, I went through, did a coat of polyurethane, and then waited 4 hours, I think it was 4 to 6 hours or so. I basically just left it outside and left it out in the heat, and then just, once it dried, I took a piece of sandpaper to it, some 220 sandpaper, and just sanded it down, and got it nice, and got all the bubbles out, the uneven layer of polyurethane. And what's cool about it is, like, in the first layer, like the first layer of polyurethane, it didn't get it all the way on all of it, and so it was like kind of scuffing up the stain, and you know, it's kind of lifting some of the stain up, and so it was like making it look worn, making it look like used longer than it has been. You know, this is a brand new desk, but you know, it looks nice and vintage and old and good and beat up. And it looks awesome. It looks phenomenal. And so just taking that 3 coats, you got to apply, if I say anything, if you take anything from this, be patient, please. With this process, just be patient. You're right there at the finish line, and then especially once you start applying that polyurethane, it starts to look crystal clear and just beautiful. Good Lord. Don't touch it. Just let it sit there. Read the instructions and let it sit there an extra hour if you have to, you know? And yeah, so once it got done with the drying part, I took this ugly particle board and just ripped it a piece. Like, happily took this desk apart, happily threw that particle board in the garbage after I disassembled it. Just disassemble it and then reassemble, basically. It's this custom size top is almost the same size. It's almost the same size as the particle board piece. And of course, given the wife is the clamp here, right? She's using her some clamps because I don't have any. I should have used that clamp. Dang. I should have used that Craig jig clamp. Oh well. It's fine. The wife works fine as a clamp. So anyway, you just take that top, put it on, screw the legs on, just how I did with the cheap particle board top. I did it the same way. And then plug in everything, plug the computer in, put all the props on top of it, get the lighting situated, whatever, and then you're done. Then you're done. And then, what happens after that, excuse the light. I'm still figuring out the lighting situation, so don't ignore this part, right? So after that, like again, I was saying, you finish the desk, right? You finish with the desk, the part that's the cool part, you're done. The fun part about it is once it's done, you get to use it, right? And the cool thing about it is like this is a one-of-one desk. This is like custom. It's so cool. And honestly, to wrap this thing up real quick, like this is for me. You know what I mean? Like this project that I did is made for me. It's something like I decided that if I invest in my space and like make it all custom and like do a custom desktop and paint the side panel, and then like do a custom desk and then, just take all these little intricate pieces that I care about, that I want in my own space, and it just drives me. It makes me want to sit here more and make more art and sit here for longer periods of time and edit these videos. And it's just so good. It's so good. And it like, you get to look at the space where you're creating things, right? This is where I'm sitting down creating. This is my space, my creative space where I get to make stuff. But I made the space so that I can make more stuff. And it's just like, it's so phenomenal. So like, if this is something that you're just like, if you're in the market for it, if you're like, I don't know, hopefully this inspired you to make something of your own, something like whatever. Like I said, I've been editing, like I've edited like 3 videos now on the computer, and I've played a lot of games. Oh god. I played a lot of Warzone and a lot of Pokemon and I've downloaded a bunch of like PlayStation 2 emulators and Game Boy Advance emulators and DS and stuff, like playing all the classic stuff on my, we've been watching, like my wife and I, we've been watching anime every night, every single night on this thing. So it's like, it's so good. And it's a workstation, it's a PlayStation, anyway. This is the Hunt Studio. I hope I inspired you to do something great. Do something like, regardless of just do it. You know what I mean? Like look at this light, like the lighting, the situation isn't ideal, it's whatever, it's fine, but it's workable, it's doable, I'm swinging this knife around like it's, do something about it. Like find a passion and do something. If you don't know what your passion is, just do stuff, do things, right? Just do stuff, right? Just do it, like Nike, right? I'm delaying the inevitable. I'm trying to say goodbye without saying goodbye. Goodbye.